What is going on?
Right over there! You like... Yeah!
In the building!
I'm ready.
Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. Can we just take a moment to talk about how cool the Tyranids are as a faction in 40k? So basically they're like a insectoid, eternally hungry, communist, annexation imperialist force that is entirely run by a central hive mind that looks to devour everything on planets in order to transform it into biomass that it can then use to either feed or conquer new planets. It needs to do this over and over because it burns through biomass in space, getting to other planets, I guess, and it is essentially eternally hungry. I just thought that was just a really awesome idea. I'm not sure if it's like the Starship Troopers novel, where they are a metaphor for communism, more specifically Stalinism, because it is like centrally controlling state, top-down approach, which, like, let's be honest, it's not always a good idea. Like, it really didn't serve him well in World War II, especially when he purged all his competent officers, because straight after that happened Barbarossa, and then in like 2 consecutive battles he lost like hundreds of thousands of men in each battle. Like, so it's not a good approach, but you will have the will to commit to a strategy with that approach, sort of thing. But back to the Tyranids. Like, they are essentially Stalin's, you know, initial war strategy of send waves and waves and waves until you can find like a weakness somewhere, then focus on the weakness as hard as you can until you completely overwhelm them. It's like a mixture of factions. Like, they've got their infiltrator units, which are essentially predators, but without the plasma casters and stuff. That it's like a giant thing with hooves and basically scythes for hands and a squid for a face, but the end of the squid's tentacles are like sharp. They're like keratin, and it eats brains and it can devour thoughts, and it's got optic camouflage so it can blend in with its environment. And like, they're always written pretty well in books as well. Like, they are infiltrator units. They will like malevolently take their time. They will bury themselves places and hide in sort of like a stasis that they put themselves in. And like, their goal is to, you know, infiltrate and kill command structures so the planets can't fight back as well. So on top of that, they've got like Genestealers, which are like, they're humans, but it's like a disease which affects consciousness in the form of an ideology, and that ideology is basically religious devotion to the star god, which is essentially the hive mind of the Tyranids. They don't quite know it, but their idea is to subvert the planet. The Genestealers subvert the planet in order to make it easier for the Tyranids to consume. So it's like another ploy. And quite frankly, the Genestealers are like modern day Marxists in universities. Like, it's the same thing. That, you know, they're subverting everything they can: culture, government, democracy. They're trying to censor, you know, the whole lot of it. They're trying to make it an easy target for like China and Russia, because I guess they think China and Russia are better places. Yeah, they're idiots. They're complete idiots. But anyway, back to the Tyranids again. So it's just cool how they function. It's like, okay, waves and waves and waves and waves of like little nasty things that if they get up close, they can actually do damage, like to space marines and shit. But they usually get obliterated by like planetary artillery and airstrikes and stuff like that. After that, you got your tanker units, which they use to advance through artillery, and then they've got these burrowing units, because, you know, there's no bullet stop and shell stop quite like dirt, so they basically tunnel under shit. In addition to all that, it's just cool what happens initially. They spore attack the planet, and basically the spores, you know, corrupt and kill human life. They also kill visibility, make it hard to see, they're toxic, like that sort of thing. So they've got that going on. In Warhammer 40k, there's also basically psychic powers, but this is through a thing called the warp. And since the hive mind is like so big and scary and psychically powerful, it casts something called the shadow in the warp. In the 40k universe, they use the warp to send messages through astral projection, essentially. And they can't send messages in the shadow of the warp cast by the hive mind. So the planets, by the time they know they're attacked by the Tyranids, they're usually already dead and can't call for help. And at the same time, their leader structures are usually hit by infiltrator units. So it's just like a cool, like, complete subversion, like, massive attack on a planet. And it's just, like, cool how they're written all the time, you know? And then, like, once the Tyranids have, like, won the battle, you would also have a lot of cool imagery. Like, if they ever made this sort of thing into a movie, you would have really, really awesome imagery there. Basically, all the Tyranids that manage to kill and eat something throw themselves and drag all the dead bodies into something called a flesh pit, and then they make these huge pillars that lead into their ships and into space. So like, that would be a really cool image for a movie or something to portray in a movie, like a dying planet with all the like the tendrils to the organic Tyranid ships and all the flesh pits and all that sort of thing. It would be like really cool hell imagery if they could like pull it off. Like, it'd have to all be CGI, of course, but it'd look cool. And it's just like a cool little touch. Like, they've thought out like every part of that faction and how it would like operate. It's a little bit grey on how much biomass they use to move through space, though, because they can't travel through the warp like the humans can, so they have to go the long way basically, and it would in theory take a lot of energy and biomass for them to travel. So like, it's unclear how much they use just existing in space. But like, it's also a really good point that they constantly need to feed and expand. Like, this is like directly a metaphor for like imperialist communism, right? It's the same reason why Hitler had to start the war. As soon as like a central government seizes control of a market, the market starts eating shit like straight away. Like, it can't correct its prices properly, and it just takes damage, and like over like a long enough period of time, the market just sort of dies. Like, that's why all communist states like eventually fail. Like, the same sort of thing happened with the Tyranids. Like, it's the same idea as why like Stalin needed to seize all the Baltic states and expand his territory as well. You can't squeeze enough productive labor out of slaves in gulags to keep the state operating. Like, one of the things Khrushchev was doing was he got a ton of slaves and put them in gold mines, because in theory the gold standard in at least Western states like stayed the same, right? So the theory was they would just mine a shitload of gold and then trade it with the Western states, and it wouldn't matter that their currency was like all inflated to shit and their markets were falling apart and that sort of thing. But yeah, like, it's interesting. Like, it directly mimics that. Like, no one talks about how communist states need to expand and seize other territories and annex people because their markets fail. I'm assuming it's similar with the Tyranids. Like, I'm assuming that the hive mind can't just stay still on a planet, or it would like eventually either consume itself or be lonely, or, you know, lose its mind through hunger or something. Like, it can't just be content. Like, it wouldn't be able to, in theory, exist in space, the vacuum of space either, because like, it would need biomass, it would need something to burn, it would need energy, it would need some form of something. It couldn't just exist in space as it is. It is an organic thing. It would need some sort of like life support system to last in space. Like, that's another thing. Like, it may just be a perfectly evolved conscious survival instinct. It might be thought of as that because its only instinct is to devour and gather more resources for itself constantly. So it may just be considered some sort of evolutionary survival instinct thing that's going on with it. It may not necessarily be malevolently evil, although some of the writers in the books portray it that way, and quite frankly, if you're getting eaten by it, it's still going to seem evil. But like, the coolest parts of the Tyranid books are always the idea of the defensive line of the battle scenes, in my opinion. Like, how they have, you know, air defenses, they always set up like razor wire and everything, because like the Tyranids are mainly melee focused. They have lines of artillery, they have lines of infantry, they have defense in depth. Like, the writers usually do a really good job of, like, you know, wargaming out how a Tyranid invasion would look on the ground. Like, it gets a bit complicated because even though they've done a really good job of wargaming it, we don't exactly have an understanding of how space to surface attacks would work, even though like the writers in the books usually just say it's like orbital bombardment or something like that. Like, it'd be more complicated than that. You'd need to be in like geosynchronous like orbit with the Earth, and then it would be like a massive calculation to get the bombs to where they needed to go because of the spin of the Earth and like re-entry angle and all that sort of thing. Otherwise they'd burn up in the atmosphere. Like, it'd be like way more complicated than they're showing it in the books. Basically, it wouldn't just be like a cyclonic torpedo launched from a ship going straight into the Earth. I guess all that's assuming that the Earth is round and it's really a sphere and spinning. I mean, if it's flat, I mean, I guess, you know, Warhammer applies. Warhammer logic applies.
You like... Yeah!
Ugh.
still around.
May the current be calm.
By the door!
This is weird.
What's the story? We fucking got anything?
See shit around here.
Look everywhere, go! What? Fucking ambush! Over there! Go around! I got it! In the building! Ah!
Down.
This place now. Keep your eyes open. Down!